G'day and welcome back to 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die. Today's album is Sulk by The Associates. Of all the albums I've reviewed so far, this one challenged me the most. And I really struggled to get into this. I always thought I had a talent for seeing the good in any music, and I found myself involuntarily judging this as I was listening to it. And after the first listen, I was like, what the hell am I going to say when I do this video? Am I just going to become that person I hate that just talks shit about an album I've just listened to? And then I started reading the reviews on the 1001 Albums Generator website. I was going to share it with you, but I couldn't find it. But one of the reviews, now the reviews are very divided. They're either 1 star or 5 stars for the most part, which I can't say is surprising. But this review said that the first time that they listened to it, they hated it. This was a 5-star review, but then they went on to really enjoy it. And it made me think, what is it about this? Why am I finding this so challenging? So, of course, I listened to it a second time to try to get a feel for what is it that people, because other people like it. One of their accolades is Melody Maker magazine gave it their review of it was that it was the album of the year. If not for me, that was a magazine from the UK that went from the 60s to the 90s, I think. And so I listened to it a second time and I realized the thing that I'm hearing is it initially, if you're not paying attention, it sounds like, first of all, the drumming, it sounds like that he's just making a whole lot of mistakes and he doesn't know how to do a drum fill to save his life. It's a fine line between a drum fill that sounds like messy and, they don't know what they're doing, and someone doing it deliberately. And there is a way of telling, right? So the drum fills, because if you think of how a beat works, it's dunk, 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 and drum fills often start on the downbeat, but if they don't usually start on the offbeat. They might throw a beat in on an offbeat or an upbeat, but they don't start a drum fill on an offbeat. And they also, the tempo of a drum fill is either the same tempo as the song or double the tempo. That's typically, it can be quadruple depending. But if you think, when you're listening to it, your mind can hear it, right? So if you've got a beat that's this slow, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? If you sample what I've just done there, or rewind this, and then try to put 2 beats for every one, you can do that. Or if you try to put 4 for every count that I do, you can do that. But what if I count, and then when I'm about to go to 2, you start doing a drum fill, but not only that, you're doing it with uneven quantities of notes. That's kind of what's going on. But it is done deliberately. And I believe, combined with all the other stuff that they do, it's all done on purpose. It's called dissonance. That's what they're going for. So in other words, the opposite, what we like to hear, what's pleasing to our ear is beats that happen predictably, even if a beat here and there isn't. But for the most part, you listen to songs, the melody's all predictable. It follows, even if it's not predictable, it still follows like a fairly set pattern. It's pleasing to listen to. This is quite the opposite initially, right? It's one of those things that's like, it's really jarring, really hard to comprehend what's going on. So like I said, I started with the drums and analysing what was going. And as I said, the drum fill sounded bizarre, sounded like it was a mistake, sounded like they didn't know what they were doing, like someone fumbling around on the drums. But I noticed one thing. These drum fills I'm talking about, they're exactly the same. So every time I listened for them when they would come, they were identical every time. They weren't samples. It was someone playing an actual drum kit. What could have been an electric drum kit, but they were still somebody actually playing. And yeah, as I said, they were deliberately done that way. Then another observation I had is that some of the songs, a lot of the songs, sound like they were recorded at a set tempo, but then the singer it's if he's singing to a different song entirely or to a different tempo. If you do end up listening to this, listen to the singing, and I bet you can imagine that song being sung as a ballad to a much slower tempo than what the song is actually being played. I don't know why I noticed that, but that's what I get maybe over all the years I've seen artists, people remix songs and stuff like that. They take a slow song and the vocals going a certain way and then they put a fast beat over it. Maybe that's what I'm hearing. So I'm not sure whether that's what actually happened, whether the singer just recorded the audio first with, a slow tempo in mind and then the music got put later, or it's really interesting actually. The other thing is nothing about these songs is typical. Not one thing is what you would have probably heard before. It's like they've gone, out of their way to reinvent the wheel, and in a way they kind of succeeded. Whether you like it or not, whether you like this music or not, those things are facts, that it's not typical, it's very different to everything else, and unless you're really been into this avant-garde or very experimental music, you're probably going to struggle to listen to it. Again, I'm not talking shit about the artist. I believe what I'm doing here is stating facts. So what the hell am I talking about? Let's get in and you can have a listen and see what I mean. Now, I'm not playing the drum beat, just so you know. What I'm doing is I'm giving you an idea what the beat is. And if you're watching this hand, I'm going like that. Notice what I was talking about the drum fills. You notice they start with my hands up, not with my hands down. And they start, stop. It'll be sort of in time with my hand when it's up, sometimes down. It's very erratic, but it's the same every time. Do you see what I mean about the dissonance and the odd timing? Anyway, that's how that track goes for the most part. And I forgot to mention would be an instrumental track, but you obviously know that now. So I should have introduced the group, co-founded by Billy McKenzie and Alan Rackney, who have both since passed away, one more recently than the other. It also included bass player Michael Dempsey, who was in The Cure for a few albums. And backing vocals features Martha Ladley, who famously from Martha and the Muffins, although she wasn't the lead singer in Martha and the Muffins, she was the backing vocalist and keyboard player. There was another Martha that was the lead singer. So if you're still interested, let's listen to No. Well, look, I'm noticing how full that sounds on these headphones. So if you're watching any of my other videos, I often talk about listening to music on decent sound system. Out of everything I've listened to this on, these headphones are by far the best. so very clear. And I've heard about this album that it was, no expense spared. The production was top notch and very much sounds that way.
Tore my hair out from the roots, planted them in someone's garden. Then I waited for the shoots. Then I waited for the shoots. Bit my nails down to the quick, worrying myself sick about you, tearing facial masks and bed. What kind of sequel is this that you dread?
Wow, like he's got a very powerful voice, and the vibrato is just so wow. Like it's pretty amazing. It's interesting also, the thing with reviews, comments people made. David Byrne from Talking Heads sounds like Talking Heads sounds like one of David Bowie's albums. I don't get that. I'm not getting that. But that's the way he's singing, and it's really 80s sounding. There is another artist that sounds exactly like that. I just can't think who it is.
Tear a strip from your dress, wrap my arms in it. Tear a strip from your dress.
I think I just figured out who it is. I think he sounds like the lead singer from Australian band Real Life. I think that's who he sounds like.
Wrap my arms in it.
And notice that the tempo of the song, notice the drums is pretty much non-existent, just the bass drum going. It's very much made up of, piano, keyboards, and the synthesizer all playing different things. The piano is really big. The bass as well, the bass is like the drums of the song. It's like a drum beat. What I was raising my eyebrows at there is the choice of notes the bass was doing. Again, that dissonance, he was choosing notes that were quite likely outside the key of the song. Without me learning it, I couldn't really tell you, but it sounds like deliberately choosing certain notes that were flat or sharp that don't normally belong in that key. Given there's no rules in music, there's nothing stopping you from doing it yourself. I mean, there's dissonance and then there's just outright crazy terrible, but that's not terrible. So anyway, we'll go on to Bap de la Bap. So I'm doing this just to give you a reference point of what the beat is, and where, if you watch my hand, how often the drums will do something here or when my hand's down here. So that's on the upbeat, and it changes constantly between those two.
It's checking who and right respect, crunching and chewing its way into the bone, congealing itself with a toy from a splintered home.
another thing I'm just noticing there, I think at the last song he sounded like the lead singer of Real Life. Now he doesn't sound like him at all. He sounds like somebody else.
Grab to the bad, it's an animal. Grab to the bad with its left foot on. Grab to the bad that follows you around. Grab to the bad that splutters and it calls.
See, this is another thing, right? I talked about the dissonance, the odd timings, the drums doing weird stuff. I guess that's what happens the more you listen to it. Your mind starts to learn what those odd things are and when those odd things are going to happen. And so therefore, it sounds less dissonant. It's still different. It's still unique, but the dissonance isn't quite there because your mind's starting to remember it. That's my theory anyway.
Labrador sits on a bed with his testes died. And back to the bad, it's an animal. Back to the bad with its left foot on. Back to the bad that follows you around. Back to the bad that splutters.
See, like that drum fill that just happened, that it just sounded very much just sounds like, you know, me when I was learning drums, trying to do a fast drum fill, but I was not capable of doing that fast drum fill. That's what I sounded like. But that's not what's going on. It's not it's actually a quite highly trained drummer who knows how to make a drum fill every time he does it or whenever he feels like it sound odd, and to make it sound like he's fitting an odd number of notes or hits and speeding up and slowing down deliberately. It's a fine line, isn't it? But there is a big difference between when I was doing it, I'm trying to do a drum fill, trying to do it at a set speed, and you know maybe 16 notes are meant to fit in, and I'm only fitting 13. And on top of that, I'm speeding up and slowing down. That's me trying to do 16, trying to do it at a set tempo and failing. That's not what he's doing. But so for the most part, I'm hearing this song, I'm going, oh yeah, I remember this. I remember how this goes. But every now and again, one of those drum fills will happen that my mind's not expecting. And I know because that voice goes off in my head and it says, that's someone who doesn't know how to play drums, because that's normally what that would mean. It's not the case here. Do you see what I mean? Those drums are just crazy. Anyway, we'll move on to Gloomy Sunday. Okay, I get the David Bowie comments now. if you're not listening on a good sound system, you may not be able to hear the bass jumping all over the place there, and that's adding a really, because if all you can hear is the keyboards and the singing, you're getting like kind of half the vibe of what this song has to offer. He's a good singer. It was a good singer. Billy Mackenzie is his name. I should use his name. So we'll move on to Nude Spoons. See, unlike some of the other songs, you can tell the vocals of that, the tempo is absolutely matching the song, and he's sung it deliberately to match the song. I don't know, I didn't think of it until now, but it seems like these songs don't have choruses. So, we'll move on to Skipping. Yep, I don't think that song has a chorus either. Well, anyway, we'll move on to It's Better This Way. Listen to Party Fears 2. The verses of this song remind me of something else, like maybe from the 70s. I can't pick what song it is because the rest of the song sounds so totally different to it. So we'll move on to Club Country. Here, all of those, I don't know if you could tell, but like there was an established drum beat was, and then all those keyboards, and they were just wacky and out of time, and like it's almost sounded like two kids messing around on the keyboards. But then when the drums kicked in and the bass started, all of a sudden they sounded like they were more predictable, even though they weren't. But it seemed like that odd off beat and off timing that they were doing in the keyboards fitted the song so much better once the drums kicked in.
So to say it, or I'll say it for you. If we stick around, we're sure to be looked down upon. What better way, or should I say?
Anyway, we'll move on to nothing something particular. I guess that's a nice little intermission there. So let's go on to 18 Carat Love Affair.
Don't mind holding hands, but not in front
sure you could hear that this song leads into this because there's elements of that still in it. So if you were listening to this on vinyl or even a cassette, you probably wouldn't notice. You probably thought this was all one song. You see what I mean about the way he's singing that 18 Karat Love Affair? It could easily be a song that's half this tempo. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll move on to the last song. Look, there's other songs on here, but this was on the original release. Love Hangover was the last song. Poison Arrow. Well, that's probably the best song out of all of them on this album. It's got interesting riffs happening there. I like the way he sings it. Even though, again, I wonder if there's even a chorus. I haven't really thought about it. There's so many things trying to listen to there. Well, I don't know quite what to say about this album. It's clearly different. And look, well, I'm sure you know if you've gone this far through and listened to every track as I've just done. I haven't listened to them all the way through, but once I'd stopped the video, I went ahead and listened to make sure it still roughly sounded the same. All I can say that was an interesting album, even though it's not my first time listening to it. I listened to it a few times. It does get a little bit better with every listen. If you want to listen to something different, this is clearly what you should listen to. And I will admit, look, I don't know much about this style of music, whatever this style really is, the dissonance, the off-timing, the odd things that it's taken my mind a while to deconstruct what's happening. I'm sure there's people out there who appreciate this more than me. I'm trying to be respectful that there are people out there who absolutely love this album. I'm trying to be respectful to them and not just, stomp all over something that they love. I'm just admitting that, not my cup of tea, but I've tried to see the good in it as much as I possibly can. I really have tried. And just without bagging it out and just being honest and saying, most of these songs I probably wouldn't listen to again. But, if I was at someone's house and they started listening to it, I wouldn't exactly go, I'm leaving or anything, or start heckling them. Nothing like that. It just wouldn't be part of my playlist of songs, even though I've put it in the 1,001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Die playlist. I still put it in there, of course. So, anyway, that's it. That's Sulk by the Associates. And as usual, thanks for watching. Just remember, once is a mistake, twice is jazz.